Hey there, fellow classic comic collectors. As always, I'm Scott Harris King, and today I've got something a little bit different for you. As I'm going to be recording this video as I'm preparing to go to a convention. I just did a convention last weekend, and I did the convention report afterwards, but we've got another convention that's coming tomorrow, so I thought it might be of interest to some of you, particularly people who are doing, making their own comics and starting on this journey themselves, to see just what's all involved in doing these conventions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to record the process. I've got most of my stuff already packed in the car, but I'll go out there and show you all the stuff that I'm packing. Then I'll show you the stuff like, the drive, the convention center, setting up at the convention center, and the whole 9 yards. And then, so I'll have that video for the setup. Then I'll do a convention report afterwards so you can see what the convention experience was actually like. But, I just thought it might be interesting for some people to see what goes into appearing at these conventions. You have to bring a lot of stuff. You have to plan for a lot of contingencies. So I'm going to show you all the different things that we're packing as we go. And the first thing is this. Now, most of the stuff's packed in the car, but I didn't want to pack this because inside this is my big money wad. It's more impressive. It looks more impressive than it actually is, but that's because it's mostly ones. And of course, having cash on hand is important. These days, not as important, but at the last show, I actually had one person that paid with a card. So having money, cash, is still really important for these conventions, and you need to have change, unless you're, even if your price points are, $5 and $10, which is what I'm trying to do. I do have some that are odd numbers, so just having the change is really important. And for people that are paying with cards, I've also got this. This is a card reader that plugs into my phone, and I have an account with Square, which is the company. There's their logo there, if you can see it. That does this. And so this way I plug it in, I can just swipe their card. Now, one thing that is going to be tricky is at the last show we didn't have any internet connection, but Square has a function where you can enter someone's card and basically you can process the transaction like normal, but then when it won't go through because if you're on offline mode because there's no internet. But once you connect to the internet within the next 72 hours, it then sends through all the transactions. So for situations like this where the venue doesn't have internet or Wi-Fi, or a lot of times there's so many people using the internet at the same time that the Wi-Fi is super slow or goes down, it's unreliable. That way you can still do online transactions without actually having internet at the time. So it's really handy. But that's what this is for here. So as I go, I'm gonna grab my money bag with all of my transaction stuff. I'm gonna bring it out and put it in the car. All right, so here's our Prius. It's the car we're gonna be taking, and there's a bunch of stuff that goes into it. So the backpack's just got my clothes because we're gonna stay overnight on this trip. You also see behind there's two long boxes. Those contain the banner that goes up behind the booth. And then here in the back, we got a bunch of things packed in. We've got the box of comics, of course, which is, the main thing. This box here contains metal grids that you can put in different configurations. That's basically going to stand like a tower, and we can attach the prints to it. This bag has a bunch of sundry stuff in it. It's got like, it's got magnets, it's got like my trading cards, it's got sleeves, it's also got the easel where I put my prices on there, and different metal easels to display the comics. Here we've got a rubber mat for me to stand on because, usually there are these hard cement floors, so this will help the feet. This is a little portable like dolly with wheels, so you set things on and it expands so you can wheel the stuff around so you don't have to carry all this stuff. The tablecloth for the table, and then also wrapped inside the tablecloth is actually the display stand where I display my comics. That breaks down for easier transport, but I've wrapped it in here so the pieces don't go all flying. One other thing that we have in here that's really important is a snack bag. So we've got some apples, we've got some Gatorade, some stuff. These shows go on a long time. You can get very hot, you can get very tired. You need to eat, you need to drink. You need to make sure that you have your energy up the whole day. Okay, we're on the road, and the convention life is the road life. So driving, it's normally about an hour and 40 minutes from our house to Springfield, but really bad traffic today, so it's going to be a little over 2 hours. And there's terrible traffic coming the other direction, some sort of huge backup for miles and miles. So by the time we come back, that should be cleared. But we're just hauling all of our gear. There's a certain load-in time. We have to be there to load and set up between 3 and 7 p.m. So we kind of had to plan the whole day around hitting that specific window, which for us meant, my wife had to take a half day off of work. So it's something to keep in mind if you're doing these conventions, is that it's not just the convention itself. There's a lot of stuff. Even when we did the show last weekend, we also went in the night before to do the setup, but in that case, it was close enough, so we just drove and then went back home. But this time, we're staying in a hotel across the street. So that's where we are in the process. All right, we're here at the convention center. We just finished setting up the tables the night before. So let me give you a look around here. You can see a lot of people are coming in the morning, and they're going to be setting up later. And then here is our table set up. We got here about 5:30. It's now 6:25, so a little less than an hour. That includes wheeling all the stuff in, and I had to go repark the car and get everything all set up. But less time this time around than last time, and we got everything mostly set up here. One interesting thing, the table was actually not as deep as the table at the last convention, so there's not as much table room. So there was certain things that I had on display last time that I didn't have space for this time, but that's basically been the process. So now we're gonna go and find our hotel room, and I'll talk a little bit about that to close out the video. All right, this is the view from outside of the hotel room window. That's the convention center, so we're right across the street. And I just want to talk a little bit about the decision to get a table and how that affects, to get a hotel room and how that affects making table. So, making table, for those who aren't familiar with it, it means making back the amount of money that you spent to get the table at the convention. So in this case, the table was $70, which is very reasonable. So we had the decision: do we try and actually, make that, or do we, get a hotel room? So for us, the drive was, again, about an hour and 45 minutes to 2 hours each direction. So if we wanted to do it a single day, we would have been looking at leaving home no later than like 6:30 to get here to spend an hour setting up. So we done it, get here 8:30, set up by 9:30, show starts at 10, and then at the end of the show, after 6 hours of the show, we do another hour breaking everything down, and then another 2 hours back. So incredibly long day. If we did that, I think we can probably get to $70. We would be able to make table, but ultimately it just seemed like too much. So we got the hotel room, and with the cost of the hotel room, which is $225, there's no chance that I'm going to be able to make $295 at the show. So I had to decide, am I going to take a loss money-wise on this weekend, or am I going to technically make money, but basically, have like an incredibly tiring experience. So for me, having a better experience was more important. But it's something that if you're doing a convention, you'll need to think about. So anyway, that's it for this video. I hope you found it interesting. And then next week I'll have the video where I show how the show actually went, and as a little bit of a follow-up, and we'll talk about everything else. So thanks very much for watching. I'll see you next time.